All right, folks, we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 2 o'clock. Welcome to the last session of the conference, Pedagogy of Care and Kindness with Dr. Carolyn Raynor. My name is Amy Spielmaker, and I'm going to be moderating along with Anna Thompson. There she is. If you have any questions, you can post them in the Zoom chat. The session is being recorded and it will be made available on our conference website once it's done being captioned. And the speaker slides will also be on our website, and we'll post them in the chat too. Finally, I want to give a final thank you to our sponsor, HonorLock, for helping us make this conference possible. Now I will hand it over to our speaker.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Raynor, and I am the Senior Online Learning Specialist and Lead Designer at the University of Idaho. And in today's presentation, we'll be talking about the pedagogy of care and kindness through the lens of humanizing our teaching practice. So this is our agenda for today. I'm just going to go over an overview of what humanized teaching is, what it means. Then we will look at how that fits into the equality versus equity mindset. And then we'll look at some equitable humanized strategies that you can use for your classroom. So if you would, if you could tell us who's here, who you are, and what college or university you're from. And also added to that, here's the added component. And this is going to lead into our next activity here. If you could take a minute and think about your most memorable teacher that you had in your K-20 experience, in your whole educational experience, history. And if you can think of the name of this teacher, put that in the chat also. This is an important exercise to reflect upon, because when students look back on their time of learning, one of the big things they're going to remember is the connections they made with people. So now I'm going to go over to the chat and see who we have. We've got Anne. We've got Anna Thompson from the University of Washington. We have Jerry Lewis, former director e-learning from Columbia Basin College. Amy Spielmaker, who's freelancer, and Amy's most memorable teacher is a science teacher in middle school. His name was Bill, and he had such a zest for everything. Very nice. Anna teaches English literature at BYU, Idaho. And we have Greta from Oregon State University eCampus. Jody White from Highline College in Seattle. Great. Jess, UW Prevention Training Center, care coordinator, CME coordinator. Dave Anderson was her favorite, was Jess's most memorable teacher, AP English. And Mr. Finkhauser for Jerry, high school chemistry. And Roger Sale and John Bridgman. Wow, Jerry, you've got more than one. That's pretty impressive. And Jess Johnson is here. Cub Khan from Oregon State. Most memorable is a high school math teacher. And Greta's most memorable teacher was Jeff, a high energy, student-centered, and totally fun. Thank you for thinking about that and reflecting on that. Because would it surprise you if I told you that when I've asked this question in different circles, that it's really hard for a lot of people to name a memorable teacher? It may surprise some of you, but many people have had very upsetting learning experiences for a myriad of reasons. But low quality and frequency of interaction has been widely associated with low student completion rates. So building a culture of care is more important than ever. And this is especially true in the whole wake of the pandemic, which required periods of isolation, and it changed both the nature of college and of the nature of the college experience and the sense of community that has been found on the campus. Student mental health impacts retention and student success as a whole across the board. And students right now are dealing with emotional, behavioral, cognitive, and interpersonal ramifications of unprecedented and challenging events throughout the pandemic. And we may say we're out of the pandemic, but we're really still there. I mean, it's coming and going, and we're still having the same challenges. And these are just adding to the challenges that many students have already been facing traditionally for a very long time. So a humanized course that connects instructors and students can reduce dropout rates and attrition. And attrition rates are shockingly high in online learning. Attrition rates can range in online learning from 40 to 80%. And the main reason cited in the research for this high attrition rate is a lack of sense of belonging, and students don't feel like they belong in the online classroom. Therefore, a key to engaging students and increasing our retention rates is to focus on the human connections in our classrooms. That makes students feel welcome, to feel included, and help them to understand that they really can achieve and they can believe in themselves. A humanized course that connects instructors and students can also reduce the attrition and dropout rates. So therefore, a key to engaging students and increasing our retention rates is to focus on those human connections in our classrooms, those connections that make students feel welcome, included, and help them to understand that they really can achieve and believe in themselves. Humanized teaching is ideal in supporting all students, but especially those from marginalized populations, which is a significant number in many of our colleges and universities. So think about this statement for a minute. I treat all of my students the same. Why is this a problem? Well, fundamentally, this is a problem because when we treat all of our students the same, when we try to be fair and equal, what we're doing is we're saying that all of our students are the same and all of our students are not the same. Students have very diverse needs within all of our student groups. So for that reason, it's important to make the paradigm shift from equality to equity. And equity is about making sure that every student has access to what they need to succeed. And many of our students need that connection to a human being. They need to know that there's someone that cares about them, that cares about their learning, someone who's there for them and is there to support them. In online courses, if human connection is not intentionally constructed or designed into the course, then it's very isolating. And more students will not log in again. They simply won't. That's where we're getting our high attrition. If they feel like they're isolated, they just drop. They just won't log in again. You won't see them again. And because they don't feel or get the sense that there's someone on the other side that cares. Here's an anecdote that can maybe drive home this point. It's like a doctor's waiting room filled with patients, and the nurse comes out and surveys the waiting room, and they think to themselves, here's a person with a broken arm, there's a person with a burn. And so the nurse walks out and says, okay, today we're handing out Pepto-Bismol to everybody. So everybody receives the same treatment, but they don't have all the same needs. So it's a very similar situation in the classroom. The real work is the work that goes along with the equity paradigm, because so many educators come into this conversation from a very privileged lens, acknowledging, for example, in my personal case, I'm white, I'm a cisgender woman, I'm middle class, I have an able body and all these things. And that's something that I personally have to continually to think about. I acknowledge that I'm not an expert in this, and I'm still learning what my own racial identity means, and the privilege that it affords me. And by not saying that I can ever really understand the realities of other people, but I try to step into that struggle and try to make that a part of what I do. That's what I'm doing to try hard to really commit to the equity equity mindset. We can all do it, and it's not easy, but we have to step into that equity mindset. So these are some equitable strategies that we can adopt in our classroom. Teaching, as we all know, is a practice of continuous improvement. We may have a clear sense of the type of experience we want to cultivate for our students, but we may lack very clear practical steps of how do we get there. So this is just a showcase of strategies. There are more strategies in the handouts that you can access on the conference portal. They've been uploaded. And so let's go through a few strategies that you could implement into your classroom. The first equitable strategy is an initial survey. An initial survey, like in the first week of class, conveys to your students the message: I want to know how I can support you. So in week 1, you can have students complete a getting to know you survey so that they can get points for and get confidence of doing something right away, something very low stakes. And this survey provides the instructor with important information about the student's individualized needs. There you will see that they're not all the same. The survey will show you that. And make sure students know that their survey responses, of course, are for the instructor's eyes only, so they don't feel like they're sharing their personal information with everyone. And some of the questions on this survey could include, for example, what's your preferred first name? Can you give me any tips for pronouncing it? That's an important one because some names are hard to pronounce. What's your preferred gender pronouns? Important to ask these days. In one word, tell me how you're feeling about this course. And share one thing that you think might interfere with your success in this course. And those last 2 questions there really lead us into the next practice, which is warm, wise feedback. Warm, wise feedback communicates the message: I believe you can do this, and I am here to help you. Your feedback as the teacher is critical to your students' continuous growth. And however you deliver that feedback really makes a difference. To support continued development and to mitigate the effects of social and psychological threat, you can follow this WISE feedback model, which supports the growth mindset. And the WISE feedback model communicates high standards. It acknowledges efforts and ability. It acknowledges effort and ability, and it provides very specific action for improvement. As a plus, delivering your feedback in a voice like audio or a video message that to include those verbal or nonverbal cues that you're missing in the online textual environment, that can really minimize the misinterpretation. So a warm, wise feedback model is also linked in the handouts for the conference handouts. The next strategy, equitable strategy, is a self-affirming icebreaker. And icebreakers affirm that your values and experiences matter. Often, activities are at its highest in the first week of a course. And to remedy this, you can invite participants to participate in a very low stakes icebreaker that encourages sharing about something that's important to them. And this real world connection reduces stress, prepares students to engage in the course content, and it enables them to discover that they actually share interests with other students in the class, with their peers. So they're immediately making connections with the icebreaker. Some example prompts for an icebreaker could include: share a photograph of something important to you and discuss why'd you choose this photograph? Or, if you could only keep 2 items with you for the next month, what would they be and why? Or, share your goals and aspirations with us. Or you could use a video or audio tool for an added humanizing kick. I like to use Flipgrid. Flipgrid has changed to Flip, but that's one of my go-to tools for video discussions. And the last equitable strategy that we're going to talk about today, and remember there's a whole lot more on the handouts, the conference handouts, but the last one that we'll talk about is a humanized homepage. A humanized homepage says to students that you are welcome here. And ensure that your students are greeted on your homepage with a clear, friendly homepage when they arrive in your classroom. And here's some things to include on that homepage. Here's some very important key points. First of all, a visual banner. It could be your college, it could be your department, it could be a picture of something that is related to your discipline content area. So the banner, first of all. And second, a brief video that welcomes and tells students how to proceed, how to get started in the class. And third, very important, a very clear start here button that links to the first module. So there's no question of how I get started. Click and start right away. So these are the strategies that I wanted to share with you today. And like I said, there's a whole lot more strategies, and you can find some of these other strategies in the workshop handouts. And just remember that your care may literally curb dropout rates because students don't expect it. And because they don't often get that kind of high touch in their course. So with that, I would like to open up the forum for discussion. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and type your questions in the chat box, or just go ahead and unmute. I'm fine with unmuting and call out your question, and we'll have a conversation about this. Okay, some great ideas. Thank you, Greta. Thank you. Just a few to get you started. Okay, are there any questions? If not, we're gonna.
I have a question.
Okay.
So in one of your handouts, it talks about a liquid syllabus.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit? Or do you
Well,
have an example?
a liquid syllabus, it might be different, but a liquid syllabus, a graphic syllabus, make it visual.
Okay.
I had a faculty member come in the other day, and oh my, some of the work I'm seeing is amazing. And it's really good to see the amazing stuff because I don't see that stuff very often. I usually help remedial and presenting and helping them with things, but
Yeah.
she really turned me on to her visual liquid syllabus. She integrates the external apps. We use Canvas. She integrates an external app called Some More, and Some More is like a newsletter type app where you can make content pages and export them to your course. And it's a visually appealing syllabus that has some interactive links. You can click on a video, you can, have links, and it's visually presented. And you can also make that accessible, because my concern was, oh, this looks great, but how are you going to make this accessible for the screen reader? And we went in and tested it, and it is possible. You can accessify it. So it's just getting away from just your standard syllabus and make it more visually appealing, put some multimedia links in there. And yeah, so remember, the app's name is Some More, and it's freemium. You get a few free good ones, and then you have to pay. But you can make that also with Canva. Canva is another one of my go-to apps to create visually appealing, interactive, and that interactive is what I mean by liquid. It's not just textual. Has anybody ever used like a graphic liquid syllabus in their course? Well, students today, they really like the multimedia. Nope, but it sounds great. Yeah, definitely. Lots of ideas to try, you know, especially post-pandemic. Change it up a bit.
I haven't used it, but one of our professors on our campus, what he did, he created a version of the liquid syllabus by using a Google site. I made a
Google
very
Sites.
visual. Yeah,
I love
so
it.
he put his whole class layout is then separated in different pages with links, with interactive elements, and students seem to really like it, and they really get into it.
I like that very much, Anna. I'm going to remember that Google Sites as an option too. And you can integrate that into your LMS as well. It's all integratable, which is great.
Yeah.
Padlet is another way that you can make liquid, not necessarily syllabus, but liquid activities. You can do something very similar to like some more or Google Sites. And this is what that professor was showing me too. She also makes very liquid activities on her Padlet. Padlet does not have to be just simply a microblog or columns for questions and answers. You can present a lot of information on Padlet as well. So using a lot of the external apps can liquefy your content.
Yeah, and one thing that I figure out, a little bit ago, that Padlet allows also for you to record inside Padlet and submit a video, and as well as an audio file that you
Yeah,
record right then and there. It's all embedded.
it's one of my favorite tools.
Yeah,
Flip and Padlet and Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle's another way to liquefy your content. I mean, we're talking about a liquid syllabus, but it's really liquid content, and there's just so many different ways to just be creative by bringing in those external apps and liquefying it.
I heard one idea in a session a couple of days ago where they have their syllabus and it's like, I don't know if it's in like a blog form, but students could comment on it like directly to it. So they could have like a discussion and kind of
Ooh.
like create their own.
I like that activity.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that activity for like the week one getting started, because I don't know if y'all use Canvas, but Canvas has a new integration where you can add any document for a social annotation. So it can be an assignment. You upload the document and the assignment is annotation. So everybody as a class annotates it together. I was very excited to see that new assignment feature in Canvas.
Are you talking about hypothesis or just specific annotation
Hey,
features?
hypothesis is a great way to do it. It goes back to
Okay.
liquefying,
Uh-huh.
but I wasn't talking about hypothesis because just
Ah,
Canvas itself has a new assignment feature, which is doing it.
Oh, it's built in.
It's built in.
Okay.
ooh, haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. But let's not forget about hypothesis, because that's another really good tool to use. And the thing to remember is these external tools are wonderful. They really are wonderful, but we have to remember that most of them are freemium, like Padlet still. You only get
Yeah.
5 free Padlets, and then you have to buy them. But they're great tools, but if your institution purchases the LTI, then you can integrate it straight into the gradebook. You have to remember, if you've got big classes, a consideration to keep in mind is they're wonderful tools, but if you're using it for assignments, you're going to have to manually enter the grades for them. So, but liquefy the content. You don't have to, I mean, you can liquefy your activities, but just liquefying the pages, like the Google site, Anna, you were talking about, and the some more, it's not necessarily gradable activities. You can present your content, liquid content, that way. So you don't, it's not extra work. You're not having to grade and put in. You're just visually appealing to people, and students learn visually. It's one of the highest ways that people learn, is visually and with multimedia. So.
Yeah, multiple forms of engagement always works.
Can you say that again?
Multiple forms of engagement always works.
Multiple forms of engagement. UDL, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Forms of representation, forms of perception, engagement, all that stuff, yes. Does anybody have any other ideas that they like to use that they could share with us? Share some tools or strategies that might be an equitable strategy or a humanizing element that you think might be good for our toolbox.
You already said this, but definitely the giving feedback as a screencast, even if you only do it for like a few major assignments. Students are
Yeah.
like, oh, you took 10 minutes to like go over my project. And then it's
Yeah.
like they actually implement all the feedback and they ask questions and
I like that
it's
too.
off.
The video feedback
Mhm.
and video grading even.
Yeah.
Like, what if you have a research paper and you know how you usually either do it, grade it, mark it up by hand, or do the doc viewer and annotate it? What if you did a screencast of yourself going through that paper and highlighting points and talking and just visually pointing things out? I was at a conference session at one point, and they were saying that you can cut your grade. It's good for the students, it's equitable, it's humanizing,
Yeah.
but it's a benefit to the teacher because you could literally cut your grading time in half by video grading.
Mhm.
So it's something to think about as well.
It keeps you honest because you have to explain what it is, why I'm taking off points here. So it's like, you can't
Yeah,
explain it. What are you doing?
exactly. And students love to see their professor's face.
Yeah.
They really want to see their professor as a human.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a professor of biology in our campus who has been using Panopto, and she gives video feedback that way as she grades the papers.
Oh, she
And
does
so
it.
she does it,
Good.
and she's known him for quite a while. Well, probably just like 3-4 years.
We don't have Panopto. Hopefully we'll get it soon. So, I mean, but there's some very low tech ways to do it. Canvas just has your very simple, simple video feature, or you can zoom it, zoom it and screen share it, or Camtasia. There's tools out there to do
Oh
it.
yeah, anymore, as we've all come from with Zoom, it's like the first thing that comes to mind to many faculty members, like, hey, how I'm gonna capture, I'm just gonna use Zoom, I'm used to it.
Our instructional
Yeah, right.
technologists, I don't have a problem with it personally, Anna, but our instructional technologist is like, no, don't use Zoom for screencasting. It's so unprofessional. To me, I don't care, but professional quality wise, you might want to use something like Camtasia or
Yeah.
something like that.
But I mean, so that's maybe your instructional designer or whoever you said, but students aren't necessarily looking for high production quality, and if you are providing useful information or feedback to them, that's probably more important, and doing it in a timely manner, that's more important than making it really pretty in Camtasia.
Thank you for that, Jerry. I agree with you. I really do. Yes, Jody says, Jerry, yes, and I echo that. It's like I have no problem using Zoom for screen sharing. And it's probably humanizing to have it less polished, says Jody. This is a good conversation we're having. We're really adding to this, adding dimensions to what we're talking about here. Okay, are there any other comments or questions? if not, let me show you where all this came from, by the way. Do I have my reference here? It comes from, oh, if you're not familiar with Michelle Pacansky-Brock, I just love her. It comes from her work and some of her co-authors. And I studied Michelle Pacansky-Brock in my graduate studies. But she's got a great website, and this is where I took all of the information from Michelle's website. And she's got tons more strategies on there. I just encapsulated them, but I encourage you to go there and just learn more and try them out and see if they work. If they don't work the first time, don't let it discourage you. Try it again. If at first you don't succeed, try again for sure. Definitely. Well, thank you all for joining me today in the session, and the last session of the day and the last session of the whole conference. So thank you all. And I really appreciated all your comments, and I hope that you will find some strategies here that you can implement in your classroom. Thank you.
Yep, that's great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Greta.
We put the session evaluation in the link if y'all want to take a moment, fill it out.
And thank you, Amy and Anna, for being wonderful moderators.